Conflict can be uncomfortable, and therefore, most of us try to ignore it, but that strategy usually does not help us solve the problem. Being able to manage conflict effectively allows us to be more successful in an educational and work environment. The first step is being able to recognize when conflict might occur. Let's hear how these alumni have recognized signs of developing conflict in their workplace.
I think one of the ways to recognize if conflict is arising is if there's any disruption in the productivity or outcomes you're trying to achieve. Additionally, if there's been a clear breakdown in the communication. I believe it's important to keep your manager in the loop for any type of conflict. However, take it upon yourself to offer solution to the conflict and not just rely on your manager to fix everything. For example, if there was a communication breakdown between you and another colleague, be proactive and ask your coworker what's the best way to communicate better with him or her for the next project. You can't expect your manager to solve everything. It's important to own up to your contribution to the conflict and help come up with a solution. You do not need to be best friends with everyone in the office. However, you should be able to work together despite of past conflicts or differences. That's a sign of a true professional.
A communication breakdown is always a sign of an arising conflict. I often see employees unable to take themselves out of the conflict in order to hear the perspective of the other party involved. When defensiveness plays the lead role in someone's attempt at conflict resolution, it's important to get a manager involved.
It seems that miscommunication is often a sign of developing conflict. It is important to find effective strategies to resolve these conflicts once they arise. Let's hear how Annabelle and Stasia have resolved conflicts in school as well as the workplace.
I believe the best way to deal with conflict is to show respect, grace, communicate your needs clearly, and be open to feedback. One situation I can think of in a group environment was when I was in grad school, and we had some issues in one of my study groups. One of our members was missing in action during an important meeting, and I was the one that called him and tried to find out where he was so we could determine how to proceed with the project. Well, he finally came to the meeting, but was clearly upset and angry about being called out and was not being responsive throughout the process. There was a huge tension in the group, and it seemed like it was me versus him. I knew that we couldn't proceed with our project with this tension and that we were in this cohort together for the next few years. Therefore, we needed to deal with this tension. As such, I took the initiative to have a one-on-one conversation with that particular individual and basically had a heart-to-heart about what's going on in his life that's impacting his contribution to the group. I was open to hear his feedback and showed support. It ended up being a great conversation and we were able to move past the conflict. He even told me at the end that he appreciated me reaching out. And if I hadn't reached out, we would probably continued having that tension.
Communication is the key factor in handling and resolving conflicts successfully for me. I deal with conflict on a daily basis as a manager and business owner, from upset customers to internal conflicts between employees. I try to treat all conflicts with the same formula. Listen to the perspective of each party involved, acknowledge the problem and how the person is feeling about it, try to provide insight on where the misunderstanding may have occurred, and talk about ways we can handle it better in the future. It's really important to be able to look at conflict from all sides and understand that someone else's perspective is their reality, even if it's not our own.
Now that you've heard about their experiences, think about a time when you faced conflict. What can you do to improve your ability to resolve conflicts?